You're watching Next Pitch, the student athlete playbook for parents raising tomorrow's athletes.
Hi, my name's Anthony Leveritz, host of the Next Pitch podcast, and we are joined today by a very special guest, Grant Fuhr, who needs probably no introduction, and my introduction will not do him justice, but an NHL hockey legend, Hall of Famer, five-time Stanley Cup championship winner, and all-around great guy. We are going to have a great conversation and talk about as many things as we possibly can. Happy to have Grant as part of the show. Grant, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you being here.
Oh, my pleasure.
So the kind of the impetus of what started us with doing this was kind of the life cycle of a young athlete all the way through becoming an elite athlete. And obviously you went through a lot of that along the way, from getting involved in sports all the way to being a Hall of Famer. How old were you when you first started getting involved in sports, and what was kind of what drew you into that competitive arena as a young person?
Oh, I probably started sports when I was 4. And it's, you know what? It was something that I enjoyed. It was something, my dad played hockey, and with my friends, you played a little bit of football, a little baseball, a little hockey. As I got a little older, played all 3 at the same time. And then you just, by process of elimination, obviously loved hockey, liked baseball, liked football, but loved hockey. So we stuck with that.
So when you were a kid, and obviously the Canadian system, Spruce Grove, correct? That's the town.
That's
and I know they say it's a small town, but the town I grew up in is really a small town. You had, I think, about 37,000 people. I had 2,700. So if we're measuring, I win that one. But did you play all the way through your high school age? Did you play all 3 of those sports?
I played baseball pretty much right up into my 4th year pro. Football, I kind of surrendered after 1 year. Something about football in the cold isn't that much fun. So I surrendered on that one early. But baseball, I played as long as I could. And then it's probably my 3rd or 4th year pro, Glenn Sather asked me not to play baseball any longer because I wasn't being paid to play baseball. So we had to slowly surrender from that.
So you talk about that 4th year pro. What is that like in Canada? So for many of our listeners and viewers here, the American system's a little bit different than the Canadian system with youth sports, high school sports. When did you become a professional hockey player? How old were you when that happened?
I was 17, turning 18.
Okay.
So I did minor hockey growing up, and then I went out to play junior at 15. I left home to go out to Victoria and play junior hockey for a couple of years, and then got drafted by Edmonton and got to move back home to turn pro. So good way to have it.
Yeah. So when you turned pro, how long were you in the lower level? Was it the WHL at that time, or was it a different group?
No, there's the WHL. I played 2 years in the WHL. I played there in 79, 80, and then turned pro in 81.
Okay. And so then when you go from that WHL, were you drafted then immediately from the WHL, or were you drafted at a younger age?
No, I got drafted in 80, 81. So I went to my first pro camp in Edmonton in 81, managed to make the team as an 18-year-old and stuck around for a little while.
So for a little while, yeah. So you're 18 years old playing with a bunch of old dudes, right? You got a bunch of old guys around. What's that like, showing up for the first time? I assume this is obviously your dream. I want to be a professional hockey player, and you got a bunch of old guys around you. How do you incorporate or manage that process as an 18-year-old with a bunch of 30-somethings?
Actually, you know what? We were a pretty young team. We were young. Gretz is 2 years older than I am. Mess is 2 years older than I am. Glennie Anderson is a year. Paul Coffey's a year. Kevin Lowe's 2 years older. And then we had a couple of older guys. Lee Fogelin at that time, I think, was in his early 30s. Stan Weir, Ronnie Lowe, my first goaltending partner there, was early 30s. So there wasn't a whole lot of old guys on our team. Our team was pretty young.
Bunch of pups, man. You just named kind of the who's who of hockey. What an environment to walk into. At that time, did you know how great Messier and Gretzky were, or were you just young enough that you're playing with these guys and you're all just hanging out playing the sport that you love, or did you have an idea of what greatness looked like at that point in time?
No, we were all just a bunch of kids that enjoyed being at the rink every day and enjoyed each other's company and just enjoyed playing. And I think that was what made that team special, is we had fun every day. You'd go to the rink, you'd have fun. If you went out after, you had fun. You didn't worry about how much better you were getting.
Yeah. So as you guys all kind of grew together, was there ever a time while you were playing that you realized what you had as a group was pretty special? Or did it take until you were done and you look back on it to realize, holy shit, this is an unbelievable group of guys? Did it happen while you were playing?
You know, it was a great group of guys. You don't realize how special it is till you actually retire and get a chance to take the time to look back at it. Because when you're playing, you're so busy trying to get better every year that you don't really appreciate all the fun and all the good things that are happening while you're playing. So when you retire, you can actually look back at it, and it kind of gives you a different perspective on it.
So you go through, you're a young player, and I'm really fascinated by. I was watching the Four Nations here over the last week. I was a week 10 days ago as we're shooting this, and just captivating TV, and heard one of the announcers talk about, I'm a basketball guy, basketball coach, basketball player, and we're not tough. I just want to say that right up front. We are not a tough group of human beings. But they're talking about, that hockey players will talk about, well, I've got an upper body injury and it's actually a punctured lung or a broken rib, so that they can continue to stay on the ice. What was that, kind of pain tolerance, injury, rehab thing like for you? How much injury did you experience? What was it like to come back? And how many times did you play when you look back on it now and you're like, oh my God, I should never have been on the ice with that injury?
Well, once you turn 50, you realize you probably shouldn't have done it. But at the time, you don't want to give your spot up. So you just bite the bullet and you play. I mean, my first year, I dislocated a shoulder, and you took a week off and you play through it.
Yeah.
If you tried to play with a torn ACL, MCL, but that didn't work so good. So I had to get that fixed and managed to make it back playing again in 3 months. So it's different mentality.
Hold on a second. So you had a torn ACL and MCL, and then played again in 3 months. Did you have surgery on it, or did the aliens come down and do some crazy thing to make that? Because that's unheard of.
No, we had the ACL repaired, had the meniscus repaired. The MCL wasn't too bad, so they kind of left it alone. And then it was rehab for 6-7 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week. And I was lucky enough, I got to rehab with Bobby Kersey. So if you know Jackie Joyner Kersey, it's her husband. Yeah. Phenomenal trainer. So I get to spend a lot of time with Bobby over that 3 months, and he managed to whip me to a point where I could play in 3 months.
So was that during the season, or was that outside of the season?
That summer. That was the not enjoyable summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not very enjoyable summer.
So when you're going through that rehab, kind of mentally, not being able to, do the things that you typically do to get yourself ready for a season, you're not, obviously your rehab is your complete focal point of what you're doing. How do you keep your brain in a good space, knowing that what you're going to face every day is kind of pain and suffering? Rehab is not fun for young athletes out there that are going through it, and they're rehabbing from whatever it might be. How did Grant Fuhr keep his brain in a good space to keep showing up every day, to know this is where I'm going to get to if I do this?
You just set a goal. I mean, my goal was to make it back for training camp, and if it meant suffering a little bit, I had no problem with that. You knew there was going to be some hurt, probably a little more than I planned on, but you knew there'd be some hurt, there'd be some suffering, but at the same time, there's a goal that you're trying to get to. And it's like everything in life. You see a goal, you want to reach for it. And yeah, you got to pay a price to get there, but it was totally worth it. I might not say that at 50, but at that time it was worth it.
Well, I'm 50 now, and my body, I certainly didn't play hockey, but my body feels that I wish I'd have been nicer to my body along the way. So you go through your career, and at some point in time, you've got a guy like Wayne Gretzky, not like actually Wayne Gretzky, say you're the greatest goalie that ever played the game, right? And I'm sure you've been asked this question before, but what is that sort of? It's got to be some sort of sense of accomplishment. You know, obviously you win the championships. You're the in the Hall of Fame, but you got a guy. Wayne Gretzky says you're the greatest person that ever played the position that you played. What does that feel like when you hear something like that?
Yeah, you know what? It's nice to have somebody like that in your court. I mean, obviously, as a teammate, you want to do your best to make your teammates believe in you.
And he obviously
so you get compliments like that. You've accomplished something over your career, and that's what it means. So
when you're playing with those guys, you know, and I'm hopeful that young athletes out there are listening to this, and you see a guy like Wayne Gretzky every single day show up, and obviously he's got physical abilities and talent, you know, like crazy amount of talent. But what was his work ethic? What was his routine? What was that like being his teammate and watching him prepare? That just doesn't happen. Like, what was it like being around a guy like that every day?
You know what? When you're playing with some of the best players in the world, it's fun. I think that's the biggest thing. You're preparing, you're learning to prepare as a young guy. And I know with that group, everybody liked to get to the rink early. So for 7:00 game, at 3:30, guys were going to the rink. So you tag along, and it got to be habit. Wayne likes to be early, and I still set my watch by his time, which drives Gino mad because I'm always somewhere between 12 to 18 minutes early. So if you're looking at my watch, you're pretty good chance if you're planning on something, you're late.
You're on Gretzky time.
I'd still run by that time.
I love it. So,
that hasn't changed.
Is he ever late to a tea time?
Never. He's never late to anything.
Never late to anything. Yeah.
I mean, we coached together, and if he said it was a 7:30 meeting, we would be there by 7, knowing that pretty good chance the meeting would start early. My players know if you're 5 minutes early, you're late. Like get your tail there on time. It's a great lesson to learn in life. As you went through your career, obviously you got suspended for a year. There was a time where you didn't get to play, and I don't know if it was for the full year or not. But how did you manage that component of not being able to play the sport that you loved, and while going through that suspension? You know what? That was probably the hardest time, is not having the game to play. So I spent a lot of time in the gym. You spend a lot of time in self-reflection, and you have to give yourself a goal. And my goal was to get back and play and be successful playing, not just play. So it gave me something to at least look forward to, something to aim at. And the guys were phenomenal. I mean, I used to go meet the guys for coffee in the morning before they'd go to practice, and I'd go to the gym. So I stayed in contact with the guys. The guys were great about reaching out all the time. And you have to have friends and family and teammates around you. That's what makes it all workable.
As you get back to playing, and you know the game gets taken away from you, and then you get back, was there like a moment of realization that how much you actually, you probably always loved the sport, but when it's taken away and then you get an opportunity to play again, how great was that feeling to be back on the ice, be back with your teammates, and the opportunity to compete again?
No, that's a phenomenal feeling. And it just proves how much you love the game, and it hasn't changed. I mean, I still enjoy going to the rink. I still like being around the game, and I'm not sure if that'll ever leave.
Yeah. So, growing up, obviously, I when you Google your name, there's so many different things that come up, and you've been open and honest about, kind of your career and everything that's happened to you. What was it like being, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I saw somewhere that you were the first Black hockey player to win a Stanley Cup. Is that accurate?
As far as I know, it is. Yeah.
So was there a responsibility there? Was there something there that made it an extra special, or what was that like for you as a kid growing up in hockey, and all of a sudden kind of the attention around that? Was it something that was special, or something that was like, I don't want to talk about that? How did you manage that, and what was that feeling like for you?
You know what? It became more of something after I retired than when I was playing. Because when you're playing, yeah, you win, but then you want to win again. So that's what you're focused on. You're not focused on what's going around society-wise and that sort of thing. You're focused on the game, your teammates. So you can kind of tune the outside world out, and you kind of get in your own little bubble, and you don't realize the certain things you've accomplished and such until you actually retire and you're outside of the game.
Yeah, it's a pretty remarkable thing, and to see kind of the growth of the game, and what especially here in the United States, kind of the popularity is exploding right now. And we actually have friends, and we lived in Salt Lake City for 8 years, who kids are playing hockey at a very young age, and that was not something that was available to me as a kid, and to see that growth has got to be pretty cool for somebody like you that was one of the kind of the pioneers of superstars in the NHL. What is it like for you to see little kids in the United States with all the gear on, skating around the rink? Does that have some special feeling to you?
Yeah, actually, I love that. I like seeing the game grow, and we're lucky here in the Coachella Valley now with the Firebirds. One, I get a chance to work with them, but two, you see the minor hockey programs that are popping up. You're seeing kids that have probably never thought of hockey, never watched hockey, getting an opportunity to try skating. They're playing ball hockey at the schools now, things that they probably would have never dreamed of or thought of, and they're falling in love with the game. So now half the battle is getting them in the rink to see the game live, and that's when you really put the hook in and they fall in love with the game, is you get to see how fast it is, how good the athletes are. So, and we get to see that every day here in the Valley, so that makes it kind of special.
So on that note, what do people not know about hockey that they should know, right? Like for the casual fan that just turns the game on from time to time, what is it? What do you think it is that makes the game so special as a high level league, high level game? What is it that those guys do so well that we just don't understand as casual fans?
Well, I think if you're just watching on TV, you don't realize the pace of the game. The guys are bigger than you think. They're faster than you think. They hit harder than you think. They shoot pucks harder than you think. So once you get live, like if I've got friends coming that have never seen a game, I would put them right behind the net. Then you get that reality feel of how fast the game is, how quick everything moves, and it gives them a perspective of what we do for a living.
What's the biggest bruise you ever got from a puck hitting you in a part of your body, or you completely covered, the puck never got to you, but it did? How fast is that thing actually moving?
Oh, there's a lot of guys that shoot it up over 100 miles an hour now. I mean, back then you just lived in bruises. That was the fun part of the game, is you knew you were having a good year if your skin was black and blue. So that's where your hands got good. You wanted to catch it. If you didn't catch it, it actually hurt. So now the equipment's so good that the guys don't have to worry about that. They're just blocking it. Back then, we wanted to catch it.
So did you live in an ice bath, or were you pro ice bath or anti ice bath? Did you live?
By the time I retired, I was anti ice bath, but during ice is your best friend while you're playing.
Have you tried the cryotherapy? Have you gone into the new that you can get 90 seconds of it, the cryo nitrogen cold feeling for 90 seconds?
Well, you can get I still get in for about 2.5 minutes. So it doesn't feel very good, but I can still get away with it.
It's just a lot shorter period of pain versus the 30 minutes.
That 15 or 18 minutes of sitting in a tub of ice. There's no question.
So in your development, I don't believe you had a goaltending coach at that time.
No, I got one. My 12th or 13th year pro, I finally got my first goaltending coach.
So how the hell do you learn how to play the position? Like, what's the, how do you just self-defense? Like or catch the, like, how do you learn how to play it?
Hey, you learn the game. I mean, I think that was the biggest thing is we had to learn the game. You had to understand studying other players, what they want to do, how you want to play them. And you learned as you went. I mean, it was trial by fire. And the more you could absorb and watch other goalies play and watch other teams, the more you learned. And that was the fun part back then is you were your own coach. Everybody goes through struggles. So when you're going through a struggle, then you have to try and really figure it out. And sometimes it's not very much fun. Other times you can fix it quickly.
So you didn't get your first goaltending coach for 13 years. Is that what you just said?
Buffalo was my first goaltending coach.
And so by that point in time, you're pretty damn good, right? Like you've accomplished a few things in your life.
We're okay by then.
Yeah, by that point in time, you're pretty good. So what was it beneficial still at that point in time to have a goaltending coach, or was there a little bit of this is how I do it, or how did that experience after not having that person, all of a sudden having that person in your life?
No, it's actually interesting because everybody sees it differently. So it's somebody you can talk to. They witness it a different way than you would see it from on the ice. So it was fun. Mitch Korn was my first goalie coach. So we got a chance to talk and try and understand what he saw. You try and understand what you're feeling and putting it all together. And you never stop learning. I think that's the biggest thing about the position of being a goalie is you never stop learning. There's always more that you can pull in, more that you can see. You learn to read the game better. And especially as you get older, you're not quite as fast. So the faster you can read it, then people don't realize that you're getting older and slowing down. So you're forever learning.
So as you then transitioned into, out of playing, what you become a coach. What was that experience like for you? Did you enjoy coaching? Was it something that was just a natural transition for you, or what was that experience like?
I don't know if it was natural, but I enjoyed it. I mean, I like hanging around the rink. I like talking to the goalies. It's fun when you get young goalies that are trying to learn the game, because then you can tell them what you see. You hear what they see. They may see something different than you see, and it helps you learn still, but you're helping them at the same time. So it's kind of a give and take.
When you look back on your career and you're thinking about all the things that you went through, both, as a player, as a coach, injury, suspension, kind of being a trailblazer with, your ethnic background, like all the things, how did you manage all of that adversity? What was there's obviously a ton of great times, but over the course of the career, you're going to have some adversity within a season, within a game, within a period of time during your career. What was the biggest thing for you in handling adversity?
Yeah, just trying to stay on an even keel. I mean, life's full of ups and downs. Sports are full of ups and downs. You don't get too high with the highs. You don't get too low with the lows. So if you can kind of take everything in an even kind of a keel, then you don't get flustered by anything. I mean, and that's the biggest thing in life is you don't get all caught up in everything, and you can see both sides of the equation. You take more in, I think, than anything else.
So when you played for a lot of good teams and won a lot of championships, but there were years that you didn't win championships. Was there ever a team that you look back on and you're like, oh my God, this group was so talented. We should have won. We should have won one that didn't reach its full potential. Is there a group that you still look back on and say, oh my God, that group was great. We should have won one.
Oh, I think if we could have stayed healthy in St. Louis the one year, we definitely would have won one. That was a great hockey team we had toughness, we had goal scoring, we had good defensive players. I mean, that was a team I thought probably would have won a Stanley Cup.
And just the health was the thing that it wasn't some problem with putting it all together. It was just the health of that group.
Yep. No, it was all together. It was just that health thing. And that's part of playoffs that people don't realize. There's more things being frozen and more guys with bumps and bruises. And you're playing, you got to win 16 games to win a Stanley Cup. While over the course of that 16 games, it's jammed into a short span of time. Everybody's got bumps and bruises. So health plays a big deal in teams winning.
Yeah. So on that question, obviously some guys and one major guy came out of that all-star series with some injuries and isn't going to be able to play for the rest of the year. And you see in the NBA now, guys opting out of playing on a regular season night and not playing in the All-Star game. That doesn't seem to be a component as far as a hockey player's thought process.
That's not hockey players' mentality.
No.
It's funny now, they've added analytics to hockey. They're worried about load management. In my day, load management was you were ready to play every day. And if you could play every day, you played every day.
Right.
Like the 1 year in Edmonton, I played 75 of 82. St. Louis, I played 79 of 82. The year after I had my ACL done, I played 73 of 82. So you got to dress, you got to prepare. You might as well play. You don't worry about load management. Load management's more for your mind. And I think that's what they're worried about now is guys tire themselves out thinking.
Yeah. So with that, you don't think there will be I just thought the way that tournament played itself out was so great for the game. I think it drew people in that wouldn't typically be a hockey fan, just that kind of drama and story that was around that tournament. But from general manager's standpoint, obviously you're not a GM right now, but having a guy get hurt in something like that can impact your season. That's got to be a tough pill to swallow, but I can't imagine that's going to change. I think hockey will keep doing it that way.
Well, that's just hockey. I mean, unfortunately, the general managers and the owners probably don't really appreciate it, but the players love it. I mean, anytime you can play for your country, you're going to play your heart out. And injuries are a part of the game. That's the unfortunate part. And it's unfortunate that guys got hurt. Obviously Matthew Tkachuk's going to miss the rest of the year. Yeah. But again, that's the game of hockey. It could have happened in that. It could happen in one of your own games. So that's it. The law of averages. You're going to get hurt at some point. That's just the way it works. I
hope the other sports were paying attention and watching what was going on there, because it was such a show and such a drama-filled event. I hope the other sports are paying attention and learning from hockey, and I really hope it boosts the game for the NHL as well, and on both sides of the border. My producer Jason Cardona wants me to ask you, how was it playing for Mike Keenan? What was that experience like for you?
Well, it started off interestingly, and we didn't see eye to eye at the beginning, but you know what? By the time training camp was over, we were on the same page, and he told me to play, and if I was tired, to let him know. So I think I played the first 76 games in a row. So
you didn't get tired.
No, tired is a state of mind. I love the game. I love playing, so you play. Yeah. Some nights you don't feel as good as other nights, but once the game starts, adrenaline kicks in. Everything finds its piece and where it's supposed to be. You just have to get yourself there.
Do you have any involvement now in youth hockey and youth sports with the kind of the development of young people along the way?
When I first retired, I coached a Bantam AAA team for a little while. I helped out with a Pee Wee team for a little while, but since I've moved down here to the desert, not so much. Minor hockey's just kind of starting here now, but I'll sit in my office some days and watch the kids practice, and then you watch them working with the goalies, and you can tell it's somebody that's never played goal with what they're doing with them. So you kind of get that itch to go fix it.
Do you ever walk down and just say, "Hi, I'm Grant Fuhr. I'd just like to show you a couple things here," and what the look on the kid's face, the eyeballs get about this big?
No, but I will step outside once in a while and watch them so that they see you standing there watching.
Yeah, that's great. So based on your experience, what do you think the best time to get kids into hockey or sports in general is? Obviously sports can be such a great outlet and learning environment and all the things that you don't learn in a classroom that you can learn from sports. What is that age and best, do you think the best way to start getting, for parents listening to this, getting their kids involved in whatever sport it is that their kid chooses to play?
Well, I think as young as possible. I mean, I started at 4. I've seen kids start 4. I've seen some start at 3. But sports is a great way for kids to learn what life's like. There's ups and downs. There's accountability. I mean, all the little things in life that you have to find. I'm not a fan of the participation trophies. You have to learn. You got to learn to lose as much as you have to learn to win.
Yeah.
So it teaches you that, if you work for things in life, you can attain them. But if you don't, in hockey, you lose. In sports, you lose. So guess what? You have to learn how to deal with that and learn how to get back on the horse and figure it out and get better. So I think it's a great builder for kids. And besides that idle time, if you can fill it with sports, a lot of bad things don't happen.
That's right. So obviously you have an amazing career, and then you retire. What do you, as a retiring athlete, this every off season, getting ready to play for the season, going through the grind of the season, competing to win a championship, all the things that go into that, being a professional athlete, like blink of an eye, it's gone, right? Like you retire. How did you transition from being that high level competitor every single day and transition into regular civilian life outside of being an NHL Hockey Hall of Famer?
I got lucky. The body was broken by then. So the year I retired, I got talked into coaching. So I went right into coaching. So you're preparing anyway. So I was at the rink every day. You're preparing every day. So the only thing that was different was I wasn't going out on the ice with equipment. You're still out on the ice coaching, but you're not wearing the gear. So you're not getting beat up. So that part of it, the transition going right to coaching, made it a lot easier. It's the guys that retire healthy that have a really hard time, because your mind will always tell you can do it. Even if your body's beat up and broken, your mind still works great, which is why every now and then, up until about I replaced my first knee, I still put the pads on once in a while. The problem is the mind works great. The body doesn't follow so good anymore. So I still think I can do things I could do when I was 20, but the body kind of gives you a reminder that, not going to happen.
So really important question here. This is maybe the most important question of the day is, what was your handicap when you retired on the golf course? And what is your handicap now?
Well, right now I'm playing horribly. I think what am I now? It's 0.9.
Oh boy, you're terrible.
I think the best I've been is about a +3. So yeah, we're the last month or so, we've not played very good.
So what was it when you retired from hockey? What was your handicap?
We're still scratch. They're right around 0
at that time. When did you start playing golf? I
probably started in junior. Wasn't old enough to get in the bars, so the guys that weren't old enough, we went and played golf. And out in Victoria, so all winter it rains. You learn to play in the rain, and I took a love to the game because it's a game you can never master. You can get good at it.
Yeah.
But the minute you really think you're good at it, the golf course comes back and bites you a little bit. And now you got to start all over again. So it's the perfect game because you never, ever get to master it.
Do you feel like that's good advice for athletes that, high school, college athletes trying to become pros, trying to become elite athletes, of finding something like that to go dive into competitively as well? Is that something that you would recommend? Go get a golf club in your hand and fail and compete at that as well?
Yeah. I mean, you've got to have different sports. I like the multi-sport athlete versus the one sport athlete. I think the one sport athlete at some point burns themselves out, where if you can find another sport to compete at, like I played a lot of baseball when I was playing hockey, played lots of golf, and you find something else to compete at, it gives your mind a rest because now you're focused on something else. You're using different muscles, so it makes your body better. And it just allows you to you're still competing, but it's a different form of competing. So you're not burning yourself out.
Yeah, I love it. We had a sports scientist on here a couple of weeks ago that went through that whole process of the brain and the body and giving it its cross training and being able to do that. And hearing that from somebody like you just kind of puts an exclamation mark on that. Who is the best golfers in all of pro sports? Is the hockey guys the best Are the hockey guys the best golfers? Are the football guys? But who's the best? If you guys were going to go play Hall of Famers in your sport versus Hall of Famers in other sports, who's winning the Ryder Cup version of that event?
I think they had one last year. Unfortunately, we had a bunch of games. I didn't get to go play in it, but I think baseball won. So the baseball guys are pretty good players.
Yeah. They got a little more time on their hands too from time to time. Those especially those pitchers get those
Mark Mulder, guys like that. Yeah, they're pretty good players.
How much do you have your kids involved playing sports or playing golf now, or do you just watch them playing their own sports?
Well, my son played baseball for up until probably 5 or 6 years ago. He played a little bit of pro ball, and now he's got the golf bug. So we get a chance to play together a couple of times a month. And my youngest daughter decided she wanted to be a goalie in soccer, but a ball on the end of the nose fixed that problem. So It's just my son that's kind of into sports now, but the girls enjoy watching sports.
Yeah. Cool.
And they're all hockey fans.
Well, that's I can't imagine someone in your family not being. Is that it'd kind of get left out of the Christmas invitation if you're not a hockey fan, I would imagine, in the Fuhr family.
Well, my wife's not really a hockey fan. She's more a baseball fan. So,
well, she married you, so she must be at least a hockey player fan.
But she's learning. It's a work in progress.
So you do a ton of great work with your foundation. Can you tell us a little bit about what you guys do, your involvement in that, and kind of why that's important to you?
Well, you know what? As an athlete, you have a platform to give back. And I was brought up that you always want to leave things better than you found them. So I've been under the belief since I was a young kid that you always give back. You do things in the community. And here we have my wife and I have our foundation where we have a golf tournament every year. You find a local charity. You try and make things better for the people around you. And I sit on the board for the Firebirds Foundation. I'm actually the president of their One Valley Foundation. And it's to leave the Valley in a better place. So the more money we can raise, the more money we can give back, the better everything around you gets. So it's a win-win in my world.
Well, it's pretty amazing. I think you guys did some pretty good work around the fires, Southern California fires. Were you guys, you were pretty involved in that process?
Yeah, all the minor league teams did a phenomenal job of getting together and getting a lot of different things dropped off, and then getting together and running them up to the fire zone to be able to drop it off there for people that needed stuff.
That's remarkable. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today. I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on, and you could have been working on that really bad 0.9 handicap instead of talking to me. So I really appreciate you doing this. One of the things that we ask everybody, when I was coaching, I had my players write me a 5-page paper to kind of build their future crystal ball for where they wanted to get to in life and sports. And what I do with people on the interview is, we're not going to make you write a paper, I promise, but go back in time to your 14-year-old self before you became a pro. And what advice would you give your 14-year-old self now, knowing everything that you know, everything that you've been through, all the ups and the downs, the goods, the bads, the successes? What kind of advice would you give yourself today?
That you have to enjoy life. There's going to be good. There's going to be bad. You're going to enjoy some of it. You're not going to have fun with some of it, but you have to live your life. You don't want to finish life saying, I wish I would have. Yeah. You would rather go through it, make the mistake, say, I did it. Here's what came out of the other side of it. Instead of wishing that you had done it, giving up on your dreams. You got to follow your dreams. So yeah, there's going to be some bumps in the road, but you just have to realize once you get past the bumps, life's not that bad.
Well, yeah, and you've got an amazing haircut. Would you have told yourself that you were going to have beautiful hair when you were sitting here talking to me too? That's I really, you're the best haircut I've interviewed so far. So thank you.
At 14, I had about a foot of hair, and I'm not sure what happened, but it seems to have disappeared a little bit.
Yeah, well, I'm a fan. I think it's beautiful.
I grew it on my chin now instead.
So we talked before the show, and we have everybody do a dad joke, but you said you didn't have a dad joke for me, so I'm gonna tell you a dad joke. So this is one of my all-time favorites. Mr. Grant Fuhr, I'm gonna ask you, why did the man put his car in the oven?
I have no idea.
He wanted a hot rod.
Okay, that works.
It makes me laugh, and I can't. I don't know why, but the dad joke is something that I have become. There's some guys that have a platform that all they do is sit on a dock and talk to each other and tell dad jokes back and forth. And I'm not a social media fan. I don't get into that stuff too much, but I can sit them and watch them tell dad jokes all day long, and it just makes my day.
Oh yeah, well, I play with golf with a couple of guys that more on the X-rated side of the jokes.
Well, we're hoping that kids and student athletes are listening to this, so I appreciate you deferring to our audience today.
Yeah, we'll leave that one to the audience.
Well, I can't tell you how grateful I am that you took the time out of your day to spend some of it with us. And this has been an absolute pleasure and honor to get a chance to chat with you. And like I said, if we can get to Bandon, Oregon, my hometown, and play some golf sometime, that'd be on me. So I'm hopeful to meet you in person.
I would look forward to that. It's always a great golf trip going out there.
Well, those courses were not there when I was a kid. There were a bunch of gorse and sand when I was growing up in Bandon, and that's maybe a show we should do. But the vision behind the building of that and kind of how that's grown is just, it's amazing what it's done for that Southern Oregon coast.
Oh no, it's an amazing place. If people haven't been, they need to go. It's so worth seeing. And the golf courses are all spectacular, and it's a lot closer than going to Scotland.
Yeah, it sure is. It is. It's a beautiful place. Well, Grant, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you being here with us, and hopefully we can do this again down the road. And I look forward to meeting you in person.
It's my pleasure, and I hope we do get a chance to meet in person.
All right, man. Take care.
You as well.
Hi, Anthony Leverett here, host of the Next Pitch podcast, and just finished up an interview with Grant Fuhr. What an enjoyable conversation, and what a great dude. I think one of the more enjoyable conversations that I've had, he is just, his joy for life and is contagious. And I think, one of the things the first thing I learned talking to him is that hockey players are just tougher than everybody else. There is and I'm not a proponent of, if you've got major injury, you should rest and you should not be out participating. But the culture within hockey is that if you can play, you do play, and not having, load management has become a word that's used all the time for not playing. And I think learning the lesson of, if you can play, you should play. That's why people are watching your sport, is to watch you play. You get paid a lot of money to get out there on that court or on that field to go play, on that ice to go play. And I think hockey's, obviously they've got that figured out. I don't recommend doing what he said, playing 3 months after you've torn your ACL. But if, someone can do that, and that's the kind of the mindset behind it, I'm pretty sure hockey guys are the toughest dudes on the planet. Second is, his advice to himself, I think, is great advice. Live life, have fun, know that adversity is coming, and be in the moment. And when you get past the bumps and the bruises in life, and he had plenty of them, he had injury, he had a suspension, he had, and I don't think it impacted him, or based on talking to him, didn't impact him, but being the first black man to win a Stanley Cup, all the things that kind of were against him, and he just enjoyed life and enjoyed the process. And then third, give back. His foundation and what they do down there, on a regular basis, I think is really important. But what they're doing and what they have done recently with the fires and getting involved and engaged in their community, and using, your sport and your platform, and, wherever you happen to be in your sports life, whether you're a high school student athlete, getting involved in community service and learning what that feels like, learning how to give back. College, many universities do a great job of putting their kids in these situations where they are required to have some community service as part of their team. And then as a professional athlete, when you get some money, remembering where you came from, there's some people who are born with money and have money their whole lives, but a lot of these athletes are getting money that is generationally different than what they grew up in, and being able to take that platform, and many of them do this. And I think it's an important thing for all of us to learn, is taking what you can and leaving the world a better place. He thought that was super important to him. Leave behind something better than when you showed up. And I think, being a tough guy, but also being willing to give back is a pretty cool way to go about life. And again, I really enjoyed my conversation with Grant. Super grateful that he decided to come on and give us an opportunity to chat with him. And looking forward to getting on the golf course with him and letting him beat me, because with that handicap, I've got no chance. So again, until we see you next time, thank you for listening to the Next Pitch podcast, and we'll talk to you again soon.